So today I'm here to talk to you about ethical persuasion, and I'm going to share with you some application strategies that you can use immediately. And you're in the right place because top leading organizations in the world are urging business owners to develop this skill. Last January, a new report came out and they bumped it up to priority number 3, because in a world where AI is making things a little bit more uncertain, it is our interpersonal skills that are becoming more and more critical. Now, we can influence people in many different ways. We can influence people with money, right? If I give someone a certain amount of money, the chances that they'll say yes, the chances that they'll cooperate and do what I ask increases. We can also influence people with force and violence, right? Entire regimes are built on that. But the problem with these two strategies is that they might work short-term, but they don't tend to produce long-term results. So ethical persuasion is where we use words and images to move people in our direction. And this produces both short-term and long-term results. So today is all about ethical persuasion. Those who are in sales and business owners, we know that we need to be persuasive, right? If we can't convince other people about our product or our services, well, then we won't be in business very long. But what about people that are not in sales? Well, Daniel Pink did some research on that, and he found, looking at 7,000 people not in sales, they were still spending 41% of their time on influence and persuasion-related activities. Right? Talking to their team members, getting their ideas accepted by people higher or lower in the hierarchy. So, also they're important. So, show of hands, who here was able to write down at least one thing where you think your business would benefit from being more persuasive? Okay, great. Happy to see all these hands in the air. I've got some good news for you because persuasion is based on science. Now, the two gentlemen in the picture, you probably know Barack Obama, right? Both these gentlemen have a connection to my business partner, Dr. Robert Cialdini. Dr. Cialdini was part of the leadership team of Barack Obama's election campaigns in 2008 and 2012. We know those turned out pretty well. To explain this, Daniel Kahneman says that when it comes to decision making, your brain has 2 parts. System 1 is fast. It's an unconscious process. It happens automatically, and we use it for everyday decisions. In contrast, we've got System 2. So System 2 is a much slower process. This is conscious thinking, right? So when you're sitting there with a notepad thinking stuff, right, you're using System 2. They did do all this System 2 work, but when decision-making time came, System 1 took over. There were other decision triggers involved. And so the problem is that when we think of how we're going to convince someone, and it doesn't matter if this is business related or private, it could be when you're trying to convince your children to do their homework, we tend to use our System 2, and System 2 comes up with ideas, with information that needs System 2 in the other person to process it. And our audience doesn't have the time for that anymore. Our audience is overloaded with the decisions that they have to make in this busy world now. So when we come up with our typical approaches of trying to convince someone, it's going to save you money, it's good for the environment, all logical reasons, we are actually causing more uncertainty on their end. And they push back from you and your wonderful proposal. They decide not to decide. And you take that as a no. You surely didn't get a yes, right? But it could have been a yes.